So I'm going to talk just briefly about class-wide positive behavioral support approach. When I think about behavior, the B in the middle, I really think about these ABCs. The B's in the middle. The A is the antecedent. So that's something that would come before a behavior that we were to see. It could be a positive behavior or it could be a negative behavior. And then every behavior is followed by a consequence. So here, the example below, a child might start to think, I want those kids in the back to pay attention to me. They have a thought, that's the antecedent. They mouth off to the teacher, that's their behavior. And then the consequence of that might be a teacher reprimand, right? They might get in trouble for doing that, but the other children laugh. And if that was what the child was really trying to get, we can predict that consequence is going to lead to an antecedent in the future of, now I know I can get peer attention this way. So I might make more of these inappropriate remarks and I'll get more of this peer attention I desire. We can also use this model to think about positive behaviors, right? If I give a really clear instruction, I'm most likely to get compliance. And then I can say, thanks everybody for being ready to learn. We can now start with our lesson. That's a more positive consequence than me having to say, hey, how come you're not ready? Let's go put all of your materials away so we can start. If we were to use these thoughts about setting up a class-wide positive behavioral support, we would identify a class-wide goal. So if it's an individual goal, like there's only 1 or 2 kids that are doing something that I want changed, those are the kids that we talked about that are going to be tier 2 or potentially tier 3. But if we have a class-wide goal, and as I think about the return to school, some class-wide goals might be helping kids get used to maintaining their physical distance, right? Staying in their marked off areas within the classroom. I actually I'm interested to see what happens with the mask wearing in schools, but I don't have strong concerns about children being able to rise to the challenge of doing that. After all, it was only 10 years ago that educators helped our whole country learn how to sneeze into their elbow. For those of you that were around during the H1N1 flu pandemic, that was something that was taught. Before that, everybody sneezed into an open hand, which it turns out is really a bad strategy. I think that children will look at their role models in the school and they'll follow what their role models are doing, which is wearing the masks. Now, we know from lots and lots of years of working in schools that sometimes children have trouble staying where they're supposed to be staying in a classroom. And so that might be a reasonable class-wide goal to start, is to help kids maintain their physical distance. But it could be other things. It could be interruptions. It could be participating in a lesson. It could be staying on task. But you have to define the goal in behavioral terms. Then promote antecedent control. That means explaining what the scenario is to the kids. Here's what our target behavior is. This is what it would look like if you're doing it the right way. This is what it would look like if you're not doing it the right way. Might be telling them about what kind of consequences they could earn. And then promote consequence control. Something good should happen if kids are following the rules, and there should be some consequence, which doesn't have to be a negative. It just might be missing out on the extra positive thing if they don't meet the goals. And then go ahead and explain how this would work to the class. Again, these are implemented for all students, the same procedures used by the teacher each day. You're really trying to prevent the behavior problems from occurring to begin with. And this gives you a tool to use on an ongoing fashion that's consistent, so that you're telling the kids ahead of time how this is going to work is a much better strategy than trying to correct or reprimand or demand once the behavior has already happened, right? At that point, you're on the low ground because the kid has already done the thing and now you're just reacting. If you can be on the high ground and tell them, here's what I expect, I'm an optimist about kids. I've rarely, if ever, met a kid in my whole career that showed up and said, I want to fail in this situation. They always show up wanting to succeed. Sometimes things deviate them from that goal.